Hello, everybody. Welcome to You Got a Friend in Me, a Randy Newman podcast. My name is Tristan Miller, and if you like this podcast and other things I do, you're probably already aware of this, but I have a Patreon. You could go patreon.com/Tristan J. Miller, support this podcast and a couple other things like it. But joining me today is comedian and musician Dylan Adler. Hi, Dylan.
Hello, Tristan. Good to talk to you again.
Good to see and talk to you through
See
a
and talk
computer.
again. Yes, yes.
So you suggested a great song from Randy, and it is one I did not know he wrote,
Mm-hmm.
which is great because a lot of people don't know he does a lot of writing for other people, actually.
Yes, yes.
And you're a musician, and you also write for other people other than yourselves, right?
Yes, yeah. When I was in school and studying music, I remember I wanted to compose for musical theater, and I was very inspired by incredible songwriters like Randy Newman, and he's truly a very prolific songwriter. He writes for a lot of people cover his songs, and not many people know that it's a Randy Newman cover.
Well, before we get into the song, I would love to know your special relationship with Randy Newman. Like, when did you
Oh
first
my
hear his stuff?
God, he saved my life. No, just kidding. But he's very. I think I've heard his music for a while, but I first learned about Randy Newman when a Family Guy, there was like a
Yep.
parody of they're gonna take a bite of the apple, they're gonna take a bite of the apple. And I was like, what the hell? And so that's when I first learned the name. And then I think the Toy Story song
Mm-hmm.
got some familiarity, but I really dove into Randy Newman when I was in college studying the great songwriters. And I'm like, oh my God, he's a genius. And digging into like more of his stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And you've already gotten to a segment that is part of the show, which is where I ask you to do your best Randy Newman impression.
Okay, yeah.
And you already did it, but can I get a little bit more of it, please?
Yes. You got a friend in me. You
Perfect.
got it's like kind of Lin-Manuel, but it's like
I was gonna say.
feels like home to me. I do a Lin impression and people are like, no, this is Randy Newman. I'm like, well, they kind of have similar cadences.
Very similar cadence,
Very
very
similar.
forward kind of
Very, yes, it's like kind of caught in the throat, like you
mhm,
got a
and
friend in
nosy.
me. Yes.
I have no idea why Lynn sings that way. I know why Randy does. It's because he's been smoking all his goddamn life.
Yes, yes.
Uh,
I think Lynn does. There's like a certain pointed intensity to him where it's like, yes, I am not. There's like a very, it's caught in the throat and it's pointed.
Yep.
And then Randy
That's so
Newman's
good.
like a little lower. It's like, you
If
got a friend. I don't know.
you heard it here. If you give Lin-Manuel a Quaalude, you get Randy Newman.
1000%. Randy Newman after 1,000 Red Bulls
Yep.
is Lin-Manuel.
um, with the song, what was the version you heard first?
The version I heard first was in the film. It was a cover by Edwina Hayes, and it was in the film. What's the film about the daughter who has cancer and uh, oh shoot, I'm blanking out on it, but it's a film about
Mm-hmm.
a daughter who has cancer and the mom shaves her head along with the daughter. It's a
Mm-hmm.
very well-known film, but there was one scene that had the song "Feels Like Home" in it, and I thought this is the most beautiful song I've ever heard. It was a cover by Edwina Hayes, and then I looked into Edwina Hayes, and then I realized, oh my God, this is a song written by Randy Newman.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard his version, which is also very beautiful, and that's kind of how I got acclimated. That's how I got acclimated to the song.
Because there've been a lot of covers of this one, like we were talking, like Josh Groban got a hold of it.
Really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think that's the version I've heard. And so when I
Yes.
heard Randy's, I was like, "Oh, excuse me, that makes sense." Because it's
Yes.
like a really beautiful song, obviously, and
Yeah.
then you get to like there's a when it goes, if you knew how long this moment really, or how much this moment really meant to me. He
Yeah.
uses that A7 and that gives him away.
Yeah, he is huge on using an A7
Hmm.
to the 6, resolving that.
Yeah.
He really did. Edwina Hayes did not use that 7 chord in her version, but Randy really did in
He
his.
loves a 7 chord.
He loves.
I would love to hear your perspective as someone who does write music. Like,
Yeah.
what do you think makes Randy so special in and of himself from a composition standpoint?
From a composition standpoint, he sounds yes, as you were saying, he really loves to employ that 7th.
Hmm.
He there's just something very I guess I don't know if the word is like southern or just like there's
Hmm.
like definitely jazz influence on his chord structure because it's not normal pop chords. It does sound like very New Orleans kind of. It sounds which would make like he wrote for Princess and the Frog and he's from the South. He's from New Orleans, right?
He lived in it during the summers. His mom's from there, and he's
Okay.
he's a California boy, but he went there enough where you can hear it.
I really do feel like there's that influence on his music, and there's something about his lyrical songs that are very. I mean, he has fun songs like "You Gotta," and then like "I Love LA." He has like some fun, fast songs and short. People have note like he's very into uh, as a kind of being very humorous, but
Hmm.
my favorite songs of his are his very slow, kind of meaningful songs about love. Like his other song, he wrote, "When somebody loved me, everything was beautiful."
Oh,
For
you are gonna make me cry if you keep singing that.
I
It's
know.
so, oh,
It's just there's something so sweet and almost like still and innocent about
mhm.
his slow ballads that I really love, and it's not normal pop chord structures for those kinds of songs, so they're kind of um they're very surprising in that way.
Yeah, I I do agree with like the simplicity. He's a very good lyrical writer as well, obviously,
Yes.
and like the use of like internal rhyme specifically in this, but it's also very
Yeah.
simple. And when it's paired together like that, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it is far more powerful. But then you get something
Yeah.
like, I don't know, what's it like? He has some complicated like piano
Oh,
songs
100. Oh,
because he's a genius.
because
But
he's
then
a genius. Yeah.
when it comes to when he wants to be sincere, he kind of cuts all that bullshit away.
Yes, it is. It's simple. It's just it's like a 1 2 3 progress. It's like slower because like you got a friend of me. Those chords are fucking hard.
Yeah.
Those are I tried to learn that on piano, bitch. I consider myself a good pianist. That shit is hard.
Yeah, it is. I learned the most simple version you can possibly imagine. But yeah, he pairs everything down, which I think is really
It
beautiful.
does. And I think he scores his songs like in a soundtrack. Like there's strings to it. Like it's as though it's like a move like a not like a big movie score, but it's like there's kind of like a beautiful like stillness and like it's kind of like the ocean, like the like a lake to me.
Hmm.
I feel like his slow songs feel like I'm sitting by a lake, like there's some soft strings in the back that aren't employed that much in those kinds of ballads.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It almost feels like to me very similar. It feels like kind of flip the elements. It feels like wind because
Mm,
it kind of
yeah.
comes in and then it goes away.
Yes, yes.
Now you write some comedy music,
Yes.
and would you cite Randy as one of your influences?
Let me think. I wouldn't say he is an influence comedically,
Mm.
but he is absolutely songwriting wise. Yes, because I learned I tried to learn the chords and the structure of this song. I learned
Hmm.
when somebody, I tried You Got a Friend in Me, gave up a little bit because it was so hard,
It's a real
but
bitch.
it's hard. But yeah, I think he's absolutely an influence to me when it comes to songwriting and just
Hmm.
really good lyric writing.
You said not comedically. Who would you say are your influences comedically?
Comedically, I would cite stand-ups like Ali
Hmm.
Wong, or well, also, I really love um Leary Owens too, and like other like Mad TV as a young kid was very
Right on.
like those musical parodies that they would do,
Hmm.
and like Weird Al too, I love,
Hmm.
and Tom Lehrer, I would
Oh, I'm
listen
not
to a little
familiar.
bit. Yeah, he was like old, old, old. Bo Burnham I think is great, but
Hmm.
trying to think like comedically, I like never like thought of. I mean, like I know like his songs were like pastiche and like comedic, but like yeah, I just went inside him as like a comedic. And does that make
Sure,
sense?
sure. You're
Sure.
not here, dunking on people's heights or anything. You're not as mean.
Yes, yes, yeah. Or I'm not listening to that song being like, ha ha. I'm like listening to it like, okay, he really is going in on short people right now. He's
As a
just going in.
metaphor.
And this is I'm more influenced by his like ballads, his sincere songs than like
That's
his pastiche.
that's so wonderful. I would not necessarily have expected that. That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
no, I'm more moved by his sincerity than his like his Jerry
Snarkiness.
Seinfeld act. Like yeah, his snarkiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He tells the story about like he was touring in Ireland and his car broke down and a couple of fellas helped him out and he goes, "Oh, here, have some free tickets to my concert." And
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, no, we couldn't possibly." And he's like, "No, no, no, please come." And then they did, and there were like two other people in the audience. And so these two Irish people did not know what to expect. And then of course he goes, they weren't expecting America's premier satirist. So they're
Yeah.
immediately, the minute the lights went up, they walked as quickly as they could out.
That is so wait, those were the only two people to see him?
Yeah, it was like maybe two other people, but yeah, it was like an empty pub in like the 80s, which
That
is
is
like
so funny.
it is. It's
That is so
so
funny.
weird. Because do you know how this song came about at all?
I do not actually. I'm
Okay.
curious to learn. I don't. Oh my god.
I think
I
I have to.
failed the assignment.
No, you're fine. You're fine. And it's a weird story.
Well, Feels Like Home is a song I wrote for Bonnie Raitt, and I did a version of Faust, which I really enjoyed doing, that version of Faust, and really liked it too. It's one of those things that people could tell me, critics or whomever, this is crappy, this is crappy. I just didn't see it. I liked it. And the song was the song she was going to sing to kind of trick the devil. God knows the convolutions I have to go to write a straight love song. Apparently there's something wrong with me. I mean, it has to be written for Bonnie, and it's a trick for the devil. I'm like, well, I can't write a straight love song for myself for some reason.
Wow.
Yeah, he wrote it for his version of Faust, which
That
are
is
you
so what's Faust?
okay, okay, I was wondering if you had heard about it.
Yeah.
It is a like operetta version of Faust, but set in the South in like the 1960s at a college.
Okay.
And it ran on Broadway for like a week. People did not like it. But it is
Okay.
really fun. One of the main issues was the cast recording is so good.
Okay.
And it's because it's like him and Elton John and all these stars. And then when
Oh
people saw it
wow.
on Broadway, they were like, "What the fuck is that?"
Wow, that's funny.
But I think what's interesting about that little interview is the fact that like he reveals that he has a really hard time being sincere.
That's so funny. Like a true comedian, he is like used to those pastiche and being "Duh, duh," like just kind of like
I'm sorry, being like what?
being like "Duh, duh," but like and like it's so funny that I've heard other songwriters be like, yeah, I wrote this song as a character, as like through characters. But what's so funny is like maybe this is like me going too deep into it, but especially like male songwriters will be like, I wrote this song through like the guise of like a character and me
Mm-hmm.
like, and it's like a very sincere love song, and it's like it's kind of like they're able to purge, not purge, but like express the sincere feeling of love or whatever it is through this like character. I
Yeah.
know Paul Simon did that. I remember like hearing his interviews. He did that a lot. Paul Simon and like Paul McCartney and like other like Stevie Wonder did that too. But yeah, it's just so interesting to hear that he wrote that through like
Yeah.
through like trying
To trick the devil. Is that
to trick
so
the
strange?
devil.
Is that so strange? Because it's a beautiful song.
Beautiful song.
And having heard it outside of the context of the play, I would have never guessed that.
I would have never guessed that. I'm like, this is obviously about Randy Newman's life.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna drop the version from Faust because it's so different.
Yes.
Something in your eyes makes me want to lose myself. Makes me want to lose myself in your arms. There's something in your voice makes my heart beat fast. Hope this feeling lasts the rest of my life. If you knew how lonely my life has been.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
wow.
way more kind of like operatic, and it's obviously kind of arranged for piano in the same way. But even just the simple act of like, here's someone else's voice, and specifically a woman, I
Yeah.
feel like changes the mood, as it were.
It does. It does.
Yeah. It's
Oh my God, that's so crazy to me. And I think it's so like some of my favorite songs there, you would never have guessed that that's where it came from. Like a sincere song came from like that kind of place. And sometimes that's a way it can be subconsciously like that kind of sincerity be drawn out of like certain artists or vice versa. That's so interesting to me. And yeah, the version feels, it reminds me a little bit of Edwina's version that I heard, which is my personal fave.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you think, we're talking a lot about comedy and sincerity. Do you think they're antithetical?
Oh, actually, now that no, I don't think they're
Yeah, I don't think
antithetical.
so either. I think that was
No.
very popular for a while, that belief that like you can't be sincere.
Yeah, that's right.
Where, because with your stuff on stage, you joke about some pretty serious stuff. How do you, by the way, how do you go about? I know I've already asked you this in another podcast, but in case they haven't learned, in case they haven't listened, how do you go about writing a song?
Yeah, so when a comedy song, you mean?
Yeah, specifically a comedy song. Or
song.
like something very sincere like this, whatever.
Absolutely.
Do you write straight music?
I used to absolutely write straight music and music for straight people.
Yeah, exactly.
And for comedy songs, like I start out with a premise of like, this is what I want the song to be about. I think this could be funny. I started with chord structure, melody, and preliminary lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of try them out. I'll go to mics or shows and try them out. And seeing how that's going, I will keep adding on to the song and building it, kind of trying to map it out and shape it according to how people respond. I haven't really written out like a really full length, and I just kind of, what I like to do is workshop different lyrics, like kind of how like people workshop a joke. Like I'm adding this. Oh, this doesn't work. Take this part out, add this, make this faster. And I kind of like to do that, but I'd be interested to see what it's like to just full out write a 4-minute song and just fucking do it and see how people respond. I've never done that before and I'd be interested, but that's kind of how I like to write the songs, to make them very punchy.
Yeah.
And what was I gonna say? For sincere songs, it's like a more lonely kind of process, because what I would do is, like, I would be in the practice room for hours on hours trying to write this, and then, well, sometimes I'd write songs with other people, which was my favorite thing to do, and it goes much faster. But when I was writing by myself, it would be like a very like lonely kind of, I wasn't getting feedback on it immediately, which I love about comedy. And yeah, it was just kind of a very different kind of thing.
Yeah, I would imagine it's kind of hard to go, well, I'm expressing myself, but is it any good if no one's
Yeah,
around?
exactly. And the only feedback I had was me listening to myself on voice memo, like listening to myself back, like, oh, I kind of like that. I'll do that again. Oh, no,
Mm-hmm.
I'll do. And it was so much better when I was writing with other people
Mm-hmm.
and I was getting their feedback and their ideas. But there is nothing like the immediate feedback from the audience.
Mm-hmm. Would you ever be in a band?
Maybe. Yeah.
You want to start a band? This is me.
Oh my God, let's do it.
Please. That'd be very fun and weird. But yeah,
That'd be
have you ever been
fun.
in a band before, though? Like, ever?
Oh my God, I've never been in a band before.
Okay. Well, this is what I'll say. If you
Oh my
watch
God.
any of the Beatles Get Back documentary, that is what every band is like. It's just a bunch
Okay.
of people arguing.
Sure, creative differences. It's for sure.
Do you have any favorite lyrics out of this one?
Oh my God. Favorite lyrics.
Yeah, is there like a banger line?
Yeah. Oh my God, I really love the lyric. A window breaks down a long dark street and a siren wails in the night. But I'm all right because I have you here with me, and I can almost see through the dark there is light. It's just so vivid, and it's just so beautiful.
Yeah, and it's kind of, it's a kind of a, and Randy's talked about like normally songs are from first person perspective, from me to you, but then he kind of goes on this weird tangent that's a metaphor, like presumably this event hasn't actually happened.
Yes.
And specifically in the Faust version, it's not like Satan was like, yeah, I was there for you. I mean, within the context of like her trying to like seduce Satan, it becomes very funny.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah, exactly. The way like it's so genuine, like singing to the devil.
Yeah.
But I'm all right because I have you here with me, and I can almost see through the dark there is light.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? But you're dark. The Satan is the light is the nighttime.
Absolutely. I really like that part, but I'm a sucker for the chorus. It's a just absolute banger.
It's
and that
banger.
Concept is like something I have expressed to like romantic partners in the past without knowing this song at all.
Yeah.
But again, we were talking about like that. I too am a sucker for an A7. And so when he throws it in there, kind of out of nowhere, because again, it's been like a normal song.
It's safe to say he didn't have to, but he sure as hell did.
Do you ever think anyone has pulled him aside like, hey, Rand,
Rand, it's a lot of A7s, and
I just like the way it sounds. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I don't know.
He does have that like croaky voice, but yeah, when he, and also it's really interesting. I think with if you know how lonely my life has been, because it starts on the A minor.
Yes, yeah.
and then it goes to an A sharp, which is already weird. We're already in a weird territory.
Yeah.
And then it goes to a normal
progression.
Sorry, normal an F, then an A7, then a D minor. And it contrasted with the How Lonely My Life Has Been. Is like, since it's uplifting and sad at the same time, I think it's very well accomplished.
It is.
Yeah.
I do actually prefer the Edwina version where it's not an A7, but I do appreciate that A7. I do appreciate, because I'm like, there's Randy, you know.
Yep, there he is. He can't help himself. I'm gonna look up the Edwina version. I don't think I've ever listened to that one.
Oh, it's beautiful, and it's in one of my second favorite key of all time, E flat major, which is.
You have a favorite key?
I do.
Fantastic.
I do. E is my favorite. E is my favorite key.
I'm listening to it now. I'll probably drop a little bit of it here.
This was the version in that Cameron Diaz movie where the daughter has cancer. I'm so blanking out on.
Makes me want to lose myself in your arms. There's something in.
Whew. What a 180 from Talking to Satan.
I know. And the scene where the song is, it's like they're like at a beach together and they're just like having a lovely time as a family and just by the waves. And that's My Sister's Keeper.
My Sister's the Edwina version has a lot of it's guitar rather.
It's guitar. It is.
Which is so interesting. I always get confused when I hear guitar in general, but I can see why you do prefer it. It's a lot smoother, if that makes sense.
Yes. And I think there is, coming from her voice in particular, there's something like very more homey to it than Randy's voice, even though I do like his version.
Yeah.
And it's just very there's something I don't know if the word is motherly. Yeah, I'll say it. Motherly.
Yeah, it's very warm and very, you feel safe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Whereas
with Randy, it's like, what is this? Is this guy trying to pull something on me? Is this a joke?
100%. It sounds like a sad man.
Yes, it's a sad, lonely man. It's a sad, lonely Jewish man. And I'm like, yes, okay, yes, like, okay, yes.
Yeah.
But her, I'm like, oh my God, mommy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different.
Almost with Randy, it feels like it's like past tense. It feels like he's lost this person, which is not correct vis-a-vis lyrics.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's kind of all I have picked out for the song, unless you want. I do have the Josh Groban version, and it is exactly what you would think. But
I'm so sure it's very good. Wait, should I play the Josh Groban version?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
We're already starting with harp. The harp is playing.
Yeah.
There's something in your eyes makes me want to lose myself. Makes me want to lose myself.
Me up so I can feel like home.
In your arms.
That's very good.
Is there going to be a chorus of people?
Yeah.
Feels like home.
No, but there's a bunch of strings. You better believe there's like a full orchestra.
Oh, I'm sure.
He goes for it.
He goes for that orchestra.
I truly believe it is beautiful. I think you've written a particularly good song if so many people can cover it and kind of make it their own.
Oh, I love that. You know, the thing about songs as opposed to stand-up jokes is every single person can have such a unique interpretation to the song. Just as an artist, like, you can truly like put your own spin on the song where it's like, I never thought of it that way. or even interpretation. It's like we thought, oh my God, it's about love, but songs you can add your own interpretation and meaning onto it, and it's just as valid. But a joke, like that's what it means. Like there's no confusion onto what this joke means, and like replicating a joke, like you can't really like you wrote the joke in your voice. Like no one can really like go up and like try to do Jerry Sein, like or do like whatever, because it's like so uniquely them.
This is why all my covers of Bernie Mac jokes are not working on the open mics.
This is why my Ronnie Dangerfield jokes never fucking work.
Well, that's sort of all I got on my end. Do you want to talk any more about this song? Did you any particular memorable moments with it?
I just remember playing it and singing it to myself, and always feeling very calm. And it was a very grounding, homey song. And it's so interesting that I learned that it's literally supposed to be sung to the devil. It would make sense that I love it.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. I think is hell home for you? Is that what?
Yes, honey. Yes, bitch.
So what are you up to? Where can people find you, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram at Dylan Adler _, on Twitter at Dylan Adler 6, and on TikTok at Dylan Adler 7. So yeah, I hopped on those platforms way too late. But I'm also doing hosting a show at December at $3 Bill on the 22nd, and a link to tickets are in my bio. And I'm doing a solo show on February 18th at Caveat.
Oh,
sorry,
that was
great. A lot of things. That was a lot of things. Sorry.
No, but that's great. No, Caveat's great. I'll have to hop on over to that.
Yeah. I love.
Yeah, a solo show. Meaning, is it all music, or are you like doing a one-person show?
Yeah, it's going to be music and combination of music and jokes, and it will have a cohesive through line. And it's just going to be an amalgamation of all my material.
That sounds great. Well,
excited.
I will hopefully be able to see that. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on and talking about Randy Newman with me for like 40 minutes. I really appreciate it.
It is always a pleasure. It is always a pleasure, Tristan.
Thank you.
Yes.